Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about the progression update in Bad Business. In this video I'm going to showcase the update, talk about everything in depth, and discuss what's next to explain why I'm excited for this update and why you should be excited too. Before I start showing things, I'm going to explain what the progression revamp actually is. In case you haven't seen it, the dev team posted this picture to explain the update itself as well as what's next for the game. Throughout the video, I'm going to explain every part of it. The image is also now available in-game if you go to the update news. In Bad Business, the old progression system was where you level up until you hit level 60, then you go to Prestige 1, Prestige 2, and so on. The progression revamp replaces this system with a new one. Firstly, your current level has been turned into the new career level. The conversion is basically one-to-one with the old system. For example, if you're Prestige 2 level 30, your career level would be 150, as each Prestige was 60 levels, and there are another 30 levels on top of that. So, what even is a career level? Career levels are essentially the new main form of progression. It's really simple. You just level up normally to unlock weapons, and at level 60, instead of prestiging, you just continue without any limit. In the middle of the picture, it states that the rebalanced weapon unlocks up to level 120. What this means is that most weapons that are currently unlocked by leveling up from Prestige 0 to Prestige 4 have been reshuffled into the new career level system in a new order. There are two very important things to know about this. Firstly, you won't lose anything. Even though weapons may be unlocked in a different order, you keep everything that you have. Secondly, level 120 is only equivalent to Prestige 1 level 60. What this means is that most weapons will be unlocked at a much lower level, meaning that when you join the game after the update, you will automatically unlock many weapons depending on your current level. To my knowledge, XP scales from level 0 to 120 and is a consistent 1000 XP afterwards. Alongside career levels are contracts. Think of contracts as like the prestige system, but you can choose which one you want to progress on, and you can switch between them at any time. You level up contracts alongside your career level. Contracts have 50 levels each, with each containing 5 primary or secondary weapons, 1 equipment at level 10, 1 melee at level 46, and the rest are 42 cosmetics. You also receive 100 credits every 5 levels, meaning that you get 1000 per contract. Each contract also contains a wildcard at level 25. However, wildcards are not in the game yet and will be added in a future update. I'll talk more about wildcards later in the video. This may be a bit confusing, but when you join the game, you'll be at level 0 for all the contracts. Once again, you don't lose anything. Basically, you keep whatever items you own before the update, but you can still progress through all the contracts in order to get any remaining items or the credits every 5 levels. Levels and contracts require 500 XP each, meaning that they're just slightly easier than prestiges. Alright, I've kept you guys waiting long enough. It's time to now showcase what the update is actually like. As you can see, the progression button has been updated. Going here brings us to the new progression menu. On the left side, you can see your career level, on the middle, you can see your active contract, and on the right side, you have the option to choose the contract you want. In the bottom right, there's a menu for XP boosters. I don't know anything about them yet. Alright, starting with career unlocks. If you click here, we'll be brought to the career level menu. Here, we can see all the things that can be unlocked by just leveling up normally. As you can see, all the weapons are in a much different order than they were before, but once again, I just want to reiterate that you won't lose anything. Also, something to notice is at the beginning, you unlock a weapon at every single level. Moving along to the next page, we can see the pattern goes until level 16, when you'll then unlock a weapon every 2 levels. This pattern continues until level 50, when unlocks are generally 3 levels apart. This means that through the career level system, you'll unlock weapons much more often than you did under the previous system, where it was 5 levels each. I'll get more into the implications of this later. There are 2 important things to note. Firstly, every weapon unlocked through career levels is unlocked at an earlier level than before, except for the Mod U and the IDP-9. This means that most weapons, except for those 2, will be significantly cheaper to buy. Also, the baseball bat and the kukri are also now included as an unlock. They were previously only available by buying them with credits. My condolences to anyone else who just recently bought them. I feel your pain. Now, it's time to take a look at contracts. Going back to the progression menu and heading over to the swap contract button, we can see all the contracts that are currently in game. The names may seem random, but they're actually the names of companies in the Bad Business lore, because apparently this game actually does have some lore. Basically, Overshoot, Dropbear, Rebound, and Roentgen contain already existing weapons and cosmetics from Prestige 0, 1, 2, and 3 respectively, while the Tateyama contract contains all new content and is the portion of the update that the right side of the roadmap was referring to. The Tateyama contract is active by default. Starting off with the Overshoot contract, it immediately looks like Prestige 0. Notably, this contract contains a win counter at level 41, which is a term that is a live counter of how many wins you have. The Ultra Slayer skin is also unlocked at level 49, which is a very popular skin. And finally, at level 50, the DSR 50, known as the PBAM 50, is unlocked, which is a powerful sniper that one-shots the torso. Even if you already own all the Prestige 0 items, contract actually contains 2 new ones, being the black face mask and the black and white visor. No other contracts except for Tateyama include new items. The Dropbear contract immediately looks like Prestige 1. It has a Prestige 1 cosmetics, while having a mix between Prestige 0 and Prestige 1 weapons. Notably, this contract has a deagle at level 40, which is a powerful hand cannon. At level 41, you unlock the kill counter, which is a very popular charm that counts the kills on your current weapon. This contract also has a Kijipet SP charm, which makes a noise when you get a kill. What's not well known about this charm is that it actually reacts when you get a kill or take damage, although it's very hard to see. And finally, at level 50, you unlock the Scorpion Evo, now known as a Deathstalker, which is an extremely popular SMG. The Rebound contract looks like Prestige 2. Notably, right away at level 1, you unlock the MG42. The MG42 is a very powerful LMG with a very high fire rate. It's pretty interesting that this weapon is at level 1. Also notable is that the Molotov is unlocked at level 10, which is a very strong equipment. Level 41 has the KDR counter, which is a charm that keeps track of your overall KDR, and at level 48 you unlock the Kijipet Aboxy charm, which is the most unique charm that is currently unlockable. The charm starts as a seed, and as you get more kills without dying, the plant will slowly grow until you get a kill streak of 10. The Roentgen contract resembles Prestige 3 with a mix of Prestige 2. Notable here is the M4A1, which is a very popular assault rifle. Also, an interesting pick that makes me happy to see is that the Blood Vial is at level 41. The previous 3 contracts had charms that keep track of stats at level 41. A very obscure fact is that the Blood Vial actually fills to different amounts based on your health. The Blood Vial isn't really that cool though, so I wouldn't really recommend grinding for it specifically. And finally, it's time for the Tateyama contract, which is a new one. Taking a look at the right side of the roadmap, we see a section titled New Releases. These are all the things that will be in this contract, and as we can see, most of them have already released. There are 4 new outfits, 4 new weapon skins, new cosmetics, a new melee, and a new equipment. There will also be 5 new weapons and a wild card. However, I will talk about what I know about those later. I'm going to start off by going over most of the notable items in the contract, and then go over them individually. Taking a look at the contract itself, similarly to all the others, it starts with a weapon and a skin, being the SF-70 assault rifle and the Apocalypse casual outfit. At level 5, you unlock the first weapon skin, being missing texture. At level 10, you unlock the equipment, being the Tomahawk. This one isn't too notable, but at level 12, you unlock the paintbrush charm, which I just think looks so cool. At level 15, you unlock the second skin, being Blurple. At level 25, you unlock the second weapon, which is the Dicerus hand cannon. At level 26, you unlock the second outfit, which is the Surgeon, and at level 30, you unlock the third weapon, which is the Hawk rifle. After this is where a lot of the most sought after unlocks are. At level 35, you unlock Summer Flowers, which is by far the most anticipated skin from this update. The level after, at level 36, you unlock Street Shinobi, which is one of the coolest outfits in the game. I might be alone in my opinion for the next one, but at level 37, you unlock the Hand Sanitizer charm, which I just think is the coolest idea since it just makes so much sense. At level 40, you unlock the SDC, which is a pistol. Moving on to the final 10 levels, there are some cool unlocks here as well, especially the last 5. At level 46, you unlock the Tack Shovel, which is a new knife. At level 47, you unlock the Insta-Heal pose, which accurately represents my opinion of the Insta-Heal. At level 48, you have the 4th and final weapon skin, and at level 49, you have the 4th and final outfit being the Street Demon, which is another highly anticipated outfit. And finally, we arrive at level 50, which is the final weapon being the AM-20, which is a highly anticipated sniper. Overall, it may be recency bias, and we don't yet know what most of the weapons will be like, but this contract so far seems to be the contract with the most hype behind it. Now, it's time to take a more detailed look at things. I'm going to start with the weapons first. Starting with the SF-70, this is the first weapon that's unlocked in the Tateyama contract. It was released in an unfinished state, so it doesn't yet have any unique attachments. It's a heavy assault rifle that does high damage with a low fire rate. While on the surface it may seem comparable to the STG-44, it's actually a very unique weapon. First, what makes it unique is that despite its high torso and headshot damage, it only does 37 base damage, meaning that if you don't hit any torso or headshots, it's a 5-shot kill, which is very bad for its low fire rate. Hitting any torso or headshots, however, will result in a 4-shot kill, and by hitting at least 1 headshot and 2 torso shots, or just 2 headshots and anything else, it's a 3-shot. That means that with this gun, it's very important to aim for the torso and head, because otherwise, this gun does relatively low damage. How accurate is the SF-70 though? For an upcoming video, I actually tested the recoil of nearly every assault rifle in conversion in the game. How does the SF-70 compare? The SF-70 actually has both the worst horizontal and vertical recoil out of 18 other assault rifles. Comparing it to all of the conversions, it has the 5th worst vertical recoil and is tied for the worst horizontal recoil. Although it has high recoil, the slow fire rate means that the stream won't move as quickly, meaning that it's easier to deal with and thus not as bad as it seems. Where the real issue is with the recoil control. While I'm not able to reliably test recoil control, I can say that it's a contender for having the worst recoil control out of any assault rifle in conversion in the game. Having the worst recoil control would mean that it's very difficult to hit shots at range. However, its range capabilities are actually the most unique aspect of this weapon. While the SF-70 has a relatively low damage range, only doing full damage up to 100 studs, decreasing to minimum of 200, the minimum damage is actually really high. Usually, most assault rifles do around 60 to 70% of their full damage at range. However, for the SF-70, it's actually well over 80%. This is the only assault rifle that is capable of a guaranteed 5-shot kill at range, other than the FAL, which isn't even auto. Even better, 38 torso damage means that by hitting all torso shots, you can 4-shot, and with 51 headshot damage, you can actually 3 shots to the head at range. The SF-70 is also one of the few weapons in the game that has the ability to switch to burst fire mode by pressing B. Overall, the SF-70 is a very unique weapon. On the surface, it just seems like another heavy assault rifle, but due to the unique damage profile, bad recoil, and good damage at range, it solidifies itself as a distinct weapon, and that's without attachments. Next up is a Tomahawk. This is a new equipment in the throwing knife category. This is actually the first throwing knife type weapon released in over 4.5 years, and is the second in the game overall. So how does this compare with original throwing knives? Sadly, the game doesn't give us any information about the weapons on the stat screen, so we had to test it ourselves. Through my own testing, it seems that the Tomahawk basically outclasses the throwing knives in every way. You can carry 4 Tomahawks as opposed to 3 throwing knives, the cooldown is faster, and the Tomahawks also have faster travel speed. I'm really not sure why the Tomahawks are so good compared to the throwing knives, as I expected them to be a bit more balanced with each other. Also, the Tomahawk has no inspect animation. The second and final weapon that actually released in the update is a tack shovel. It's classified as a knife and it has basic knife stats. Despite this, it's actually pretty cool, and it's one of my new favorite knives. The model is very cool, it has a clean inspect, mostly, and it has very nice animations. The one weird thing about this that I immediately noticed was that the noise it makes when you attack is actually the same noise as when you switch pages in the new progression menus, which really threw me off. While I don't know everyone's opinion, the outfits seem to be one of the most anticipated parts of the update. Having access to them, I can say that these are some of the coolest and most unique outfits in the game. Starting off with Apocalypse Casual, this one is very detailed and it comes with 2 hat and 2 face accessories. Also, the skin is unique because I believe it's the only skin in the game to have a bandana around the head. Finally, the skin is also really cool to me because I noticed that it actually appears to be an updated version of the original casual skin all the way back from alpha. I was surprised by how many similarities I noticed between the two. Secondly, we have the Surgeon skin. This is probably the least remarkable in the update as it's the least detailed. Despite this, I found the skin to be pretty unique because the skin has suspenders in the pants slot, meaning that you can combine them with any other shirt, although it normally doesn't work too well. The last 2 outfits are the most detailed and probably the most anticipated. The third outfit unlocked is a street shinobi. Right away, this is one of the coolest and most unique bad business skins. This outfit is unique because I believe it's the first bad business skin to have a tattoo, as well as being the first bad business skin with earrings. The hair is also very unique as well. The final outfit is a street demon. This outfit is incredibly detailed, even having a smoke grenade on it. Despite the high level of detail, the skin actually has the least amount of accessories. It only comes with the shirt, pants, the hair, and the mask, which is only 4 slots. Now, moving on to the weapon skins. Contract 4 is the only contract to contain weapon skins. At level 5, you unlock the first one which is missing texture. While I'm not a fan of it because I think it's tiled a bit too small, and I think it should be black and purple, the skin is still somewhat unique because it's actually really shiny. The second skin is called Blurple, and it's unlocked at level 15. This is the only skin from this update that actually contains multiple skin zones. The first one and the third one are a flat blue with purple stripes, and the second one is a blue wood texture also with the purple stripes. At level 35, you unlock Summer Flowers, which won a pull for being the favorite skin from this update. The skin features a bunch of pastel colors with a sort of flower texture. I actually have the less popular opinion that the skin is actually pretty disappointing. All of the other skins from this update are actually pretty unique, with this being the exception. I think that the skin looks pretty similar to Hollow V2, but that one I think is a lot better as the colors aren't as harsh and it's animated. What I will say though is that the skin looks pretty good when it's used in moderation. And finally, at level 48, you unlock Digital Embers. While I may not be a fan of the skin either way, I just want to say that the previews for it don't do it justice as it looks way different on actual weapons. I found that the skin is actually a combination of the old Roblox grass texture, colored brown, and a grid texture on top of it. The grid texture is tiled extremely small, meaning that the skin appears to be much more detailed and high-res than most other bad business skins. This skin is also unique because since it uses the Roblox grass texture as the base, you can't actually see the texture repeat, although it's rare to notice textures repeating in the first place, so this isn't really a big deal. That wraps up the showcase of contracts, but there are still a few more things that you should know. Firstly, you can't actually buy items from contracts in the traditional sense. Rather, you can spend credits to skip tiers. Each tier costs 400 credits. This means that in order to buy the entire contract, it costs 20,000 credits, which is actually pretty cheap. If you're just trying to buy the level 50 weapon, it will be pretty expensive, but you're also getting 4 other weapons, an equipment, a melee, all of the other cosmetics, and eventually a wild card. I believe this is actually the most efficient way to spend credits in terms of getting the most content for how much you spend. I wouldn't actually recommend spending credits on this though. I believe it's a better choice to save your credits for things that can only be purchased with them, such as cosmetics from the shop, special weapons, or past weapons if you don't want to spend the Robux. Okay, so I've been trying to figure out when to say this, but there's something that's pretty funny about the contract system. As I've previously shown, all contracts have a weapon at level 1, and you can switch contract at any time. This means that you can level up one time, then switch contracts, level up one time, and do it again in order to unlock 5 weapons. I'm not really sure why this is a thing. And finally, to finish off the showcase, we're actually going to take a look at the shop. Alright, that wraps up everything in the update at launch. In my opinion, this is the 3rd largest update ever, just behind the attachments update and the release I guess. This is the most content since the Prestige 3 cosmetics, which was all the way back in early 2021. Although this update has a large amount of content, more impressively is all the work behind the scenes on the back end. This is something that is rarely talked about by people other than the developers, and while we don't know very much about what's going on, I think that we should take a moment to appreciate it. The level and Prestige system had to be rewritten, as well as pre-buying and probably a bunch of other stuff. There's also the new UI. Overall, this is a massive update with a lot of content, but also a lot of work behind the scenes. I believe that the update that released is only half the reason to be excited. I'm personally just as excited for what comes next after this. I'm going to start off by explaining what's laid out in the roadmap image, and then I'll explain things that are outside of it. Something I didn't really talk about earlier was that level 25 of every contract will unlock a wildcard. Unfortunately, these didn't release with the update and they won't release anytime soon. In the roadmap, wildcards have a release date that is to be determined, and in-game they also say that they're to be determined. But what even is a wildcard though? Here's some backstory. 4 months ago, for April Fools, wall running was added into the game. Although at the time it seemed like it was just a joke, many people found it to actually be really fun. According to a poll run by Wild Aces, another bad business content creator, 76% of people said that they actually love wall running, as opposed to 24% of people saying they hated it. Of course, that poll is only from a subset of the bad business community, and there's much more nuance than that. But regardless, wall running was fairly well received, and so the devs have been trying to find a way to re-implement it into the game since then. To my knowledge, the ability to wall run will be a wildcard. But of course, it will be much more balanced than it was then. Basically, wildcards will be things that are similar to this. Wildcards are still in early planning, and nothing is really confirmed, so I'm hesitant to talk too much about them. Just know that they'll massively change the gameplay, and they are what I am personally most excited for. Going back to the roadmap, there's a screenshot of a new Damascus skin saying high level rewards coming soon. Basically, since there's no longer a max level, the developers can put rewards at very high levels, meaning that there should always be something to grind for, even after unlocking all the weapons. In order to get the update out as soon as possible, there weren't any high level rewards at launch, but I think they will be coming somewhat soon after. Another thing laid out in the roadmap is that there will be consistent new releases with a new contract coming out every 12 weeks. This is essentially a new prestige worth of cosmetics every 3 months. Assuming contracts will also contain 5 new weapons and 1 new equipment, this means that we're getting a new weapon at a near guaranteed rate of every 2 weeks. That wraps up everything in the roadmap, but we're still just getting started. While working on this video, many interesting developments came up, including the announcement that Bad Business will be in the upcoming Roblox event called The Games starting today. It was just recently confirmed that the performance version of Kerosene will also be releasing today, along with SF70 and the Tennis event. The map has actually been available in private servers for quite some time now, and while I haven't actually played a match on it, it looks solid, definitely in the better half of the maps in the game. While working on this video, 2 new images came out of the final map, although I have absolutely no idea what the time frame of the release could be. Bad Business has a bunch of other unfinished maps in different stages of development, many of which are available in private servers. Maybe for a video, if you guys are interested, I'll showcase them. But that's not all. The final thing in Thursday's update is the introduction of map pools. The image on screen shows all the maps which will be available after today. Basically, there are currently 35 maps, and 15 of them will be made unavailable to leave for just 20. They of course aren't gone forever, and the map pool will change over time. Ethan said that he's thinking about changing it monthly, but there are no solid plans as of yet. If you're curious, the maps that are removed are generally the maps that are the least voted for. This is because there are just so many maps in the game right now. I believe it was stated somewhere that the hope was that less maps in the map pool would make new additions feel more impactful, but I can't find that anywhere, so take it with a grain of salt. In summary, today's update will include the SF70 assault rifle, the tennis event with challenges, free cosmetics, and the new tennis racket, as well as addition of performance kerosene, and the temporary removal of the 15 least voted for maps. Alright, now it's time to get into things that are further into the future. While working on this video, we got a preview of a potential new universal scope being added. In the video, we can see the scope from the FG42 and the T64 being used on the AK, with different levels of magnification. This is a very confusing leak though, since to my knowledge, this isn't releasing anytime soon, and I know nothing else about it. This is also confusing because it's just very random. Excluding FMJ and shotgun choke attachments, the last universal attachment that was added was the monocle sight all the way back in 2021. Other than that, only 2 other universal attachments have been added since the attachments update. To my knowledge, this is because it's very difficult for the developers to add universal attachments without having a better system of doing so, and to my knowledge, that hasn't been improved yet. And finally, it's time to talk about the next big update. The progression revamp was update 4.0. So what comes after that? What will update 5.0 be? Major updates in Bad Business are called title updates, denoted by the first digit in their version number. Update 2.0 was the attachments update, which added universal attachments to every weapon, introduced new stats, revamped recoil entirely, as well as other various changes. Update 3.0 was the game mode expansion update, which added the point system and more than doubled the number of game modes. We now have update 4.0, which entirely revamped progression. Generally, we know what the next title update is a long time in advance, so what's next? Taking a look in the Bad Business Discord server and the roadmap channel, we can see that update 5.0 is said to be Polyguns integration. This is very outdated however and is no longer true. I don't believe that there's currently any public information on what 5.0 will actually be, but I don't think it will be long before we know. although Polyguns integration won't be 5.0, it's still planned to happen and is confirmed to be at least a new contract. For those of you who don't know, Polyguns is an older third-person shooter on Roblox, which was worked on by a former Bad Business developer. Polyguns has sadly fallen to obscurity over the years, and there are no active players right now. Although I never got around to playing it back in the day, I've only heard good things from people who have played it. Basically, 2 years ago, the Bad Business team purchased the rights from Polyguns completely. What this means is that the Bad Business team has a lot of content to work with. I'm not going to say too much about this, since very little is actually confirmed, but we know that there will be a new contract focused around Polygons, very likely with new weapons, outfits, and other cosmetics, with a lower chance of knives and equipment, and probably even less likely, new maps. That wraps up everything that I can confidently tell you guys about the future of Bad Business. This is the first time since the 2020 roadmap that we've had such a clear idea of the game's future. Despite the game's age and concerns over player count, the game doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon. Alright, so that's all for the part of the video where I talk about everything in the update or is confirmed for later. From here on out, I'll be talking about the downstream effects of this update, which are mostly my speculation. Later, I'll talk about what I think of the update. So a point I tried to emphasize earlier was that progression is now much easier than before. Under the old system, new weapons are unlocked every 5 levels, all the way up until Prestige 4 level 5. Now, under the new career level system, weapons are unlocked every level, then every other level, and then at most, every 3 levels up until today's equivalent of Prestige 1 level 60. Basically, when starting the game, you get many more weapons much faster. What does this mean for the game? My experience with the Bad Business progression system was from 2019 and 2020, so I'm not too knowledgeable of what it's like to level up now. The thought is that unlocking more weapons faster would improve the experience for newer players, and by improving their experience, there would be a positive feedback loop for the game. The thought is also that giving players access to more weapons would result in more money being spent on attachments. One of my biggest gripes about Bad Business was that although the developers need to cater to the majority of the player base, only a small fraction of players will actually unlock most of the content. The game may have incredibly consistent updates, previously sometimes adding weapons every single week, but what good is it if the majority of the players will never unlock the weapons that the dev team poured all of their resources into? For the average level 30, the addition of anything past, say, Prestige 2 provided absolutely no benefit, and was just another weapon for max levels to destroy them with. Of course, efforts have been made to mitigate this over the years, and as the game has aged, people seem to be on average at higher levels. With the addition of new starter weapons such as the XK and T64, as well as new weapons being added to Prestige 0, the game has come a long way since 2019, but the problem wouldn't have been solved from doing that alone. This is where I feel the biggest success in the progression update is. The issue of inaccessible content was an issue of progression, and now, the progression allows for any given weapon to be unlocked before formally Prestige 2, with the majority of weapons being accessible well before then. This is massive because it means that newer players can actually be excited when they hear that a new update is coming out, since they will actually realistically benefit from it. Hype for the next weapon is no longer reserved for high-level players. Now, a newer player can be excited when a new weapon is released into the contract they just started grinding, or a newer player can get excited for the revamp of a weapon they actually own. Overall, this update fixed in my eyes one of the biggest flaws of the game, and hopefully more people will be willing to play Bad Business now that it's fixed. Alright, so as we've seen with the update, a sort of roadmap picture was released beforehand. What's important about this is that the picture publicly outlined the next 2 months worth of updates. To my knowledge, we've never known about the future updates in such a detailed way. Also, as we can see in the picture, the weapons are already modeled. This means that we'll likely get previews sooner, and they'll potentially be in testing for longer in the PTR. I think this nicely complements the idea of more accessible content, since it means that not just more players can be hyped for updates, but the dev team is also putting more effort in to hype up updates weeks in advance. The issue with this that I must address though, is that this means we likely won't be seeing many surprises. Something that always made me kind of sad about Bad Business is that I already know pretty much everything that'll be in an update before it releases, so there's no room to be surprised by anything. This only furthers that. The best experience while working on this video was previewing the update early while the new contract was shown, since I was able to experience something in Bad Business completely blind for the first time in a long time. Although there is a major focus on increasing the rate at which new players unlock content, there is also simultaneously a focus on increasing the longevity of content. Contracts containing weapon every 10 levels, as well as future high-level rewards, means that despite being overrun by content at the start, there is a continued trickle of unlockable content far after today's Prestige 5 level 60. This is opposed to the current system of consistent content until Prestige 4 and then basically nothing afterwards. While higher level players are certainly happier with this, I don't think the effects on the game will overall be too dramatic. Hear me out. A few people I've talked to started playing significantly less once they reached the Prestige 5 level 60. This was largely because that was essentially the end of the game, and grinding for things like challenge skins aren't enticing for everyone. Of course, there are other reasons for moving on after hitting max level, and so it's not to say that everyone is suddenly going to play the game forever, but I do believe this will result in slightly more high level players in the game after the update. Speaking from my own experience, this is actually sort of how I felt when the game came out of alpha in 2019. I played a decent amount of Bad Business back then, but it was far from my main game. I liked the game a lot since it was high quality, polished, had nice mechanics, and weekly updates, but I didn't really have much of a reason to actually play it often. This was until March 2020, with the release of weapon skin challenges. That is when I felt like I had something to grind for, and I've played the game consistently ever since then, and I still grind for Damascus today. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that contracts and high-level rewards will result in longer progression, which will result in slightly more high-level players in the game, which is generally seen to be a negative by both newer players and actually other high-level players alike. There's another very interesting effect from this update. To my best understanding, XP is based on how many points you get. Previously, Prestige 5 level 60 was a level cap, so XP was worthless beyond then, essentially making points obsolete as well. This means that there was really no incentive for mega level players to play the objective. In fact, not playing the objective was actually incentivized, as it's possible to get more kills otherwise. Basically, now that there's no level cap, XP is now important for high-level players, which means that points now have significance. Basically, what this all means is that playing the objective is now incentivized for high-level players, since you can get many more points and thus XP for doing so. Although, it's difficult to say if this means high-level players will actually play the objective, since even many lower-level players don't care as well. Although I really like the new progression system, I have to acknowledge that it has its own issues as well. Firstly, the contract system, and the assurance that basically most of the development resources will be directed to it, leaves little room for other updates such as revamps. Although we already haven't been getting many revamps lately, so this isn't really a big deal. But I think the biggest flaws in the new system is that it's difficult to balance between old contracts and new contracts. When the Tateyama contract has the most detailed outfits in the game, along with new weapon skins, it would be pretty difficult to pick any other previous contract. Also, since it seems that contracts are generally balanced with each other, having the same amount of levels and such, it also limits future contracts from trying something new and distinguishing themselves. Time will tell how these turn out though, and I still think that this update is overwhelmingly a net positive. Overall, while it's difficult to tell the long-term effects of this update, it seems to be mostly good. Alright, I've tried to remain somewhat unbiased in this video so far, but now I would like to talk about how I actually feel about the update. I've been waiting the whole video to say this, but I think that the new UI in this update looks amazing. The first thing that stood out to me was the color choice, as it just looks so clean. In Bad Business, I'm used to the boring grays and dark browns, but here we actually have a nice dark blue background along with vibrant orange, blue, and green. The main issue with the UI though is that it's still dependent on map lighting. Playing on a dark map will result in darker background in preview and vice versa. Although I don't think that there's anything that can be done about this. To make up for it though, the items in the preview have this really cool custom shadow. Bad Business uses the voxel lighting engine, so sharp shadows aren't really possible. I'm not sure how this is done, but it's really cool, and I want to know how it was made. My only other complaint is that you can't move items around like you can in the loadouts, but that may be released later, so I'll give it some time. Overall, the new UI is just really nice. The second main reason why I like this update is that I now have more to grind for. Even if there aren't any high-level rewards yet, with the anticipation of them, I can already start grinding now. That's not even to mention the new contract. This is the first time I've gotten to experience leveling up since 2020, so I'm very excited. I didn't realize, but there isn't really much else for me to say about my opinions, as I've already addressed most things. The new cosmetics are mostly pretty good, and I believe that the new system is beneficial. The only main thing about this update that I didn't like was that the release may not have been the most polished, but it's understandable for such a large update. So with all that being said, what do I actually think? Just how good is this update? In my opinion, depending on how it affects the trajectory of the game, this could be the best update. Previously, the last time I made videos, I claimed that the Roentgen revamp was the best update since it introduced new team balancing, as well as just everything else being amazing. The main reason why I said it was the best update was because combined with how good the update already was, the team balancing was stated to receive improvements over time. However, we haven't really seen that. The trajectory of the game seems to be unaffected by that update. This leaves really only the attachments update and the game mode update. I've said this many times, but I believe 3.0 was actually a net loss, at least for how enjoyable the game is. The new game modes just don't work with the current Bad Business maps and spawns. The attachments update on the other hand was truly an amazing update that has drastically changed the game in so many ways for the better. Overall, I think it's a bit unfair to judge an update this precisely after its release, since there are so many biases at play and we don't have the benefit of hindsight. Regardless, I believe this is safely at least the second best update in the game, if not the best. I'm surprised at how much there was to talk about with this update, but I'm not done yet. While working on this video, I learned many obscure and potentially interesting pieces of information that may or may not be completely useless. Sometimes, it seems like there's something more to Bad Business cosmetics, especially the charms and stickers. It sometimes feels like there's an obscure reference that I'll never find out about. Well, it turns out in this update, I actually found two really cool ones, specifically Samuko the penguin charm and takomon the octopus charm. I knew these charms looked familiar, and then I learned that they were from the same person who made Dotonbori, which is an upcoming Bad Business map. This prompted me to load the map in my private server, and it turns out that they're actually here. Samuko, the penguin, is found in a massive statue at the center of the map, and takomon, the octopus, is found in the corner of a building. Overall, I was very happy to see this, and it helped me appreciate these charms a bit more. Also, it was my first time really exploring Dotonbori, and oh my gosh, this map is so impressive, although it is way too big. The transition from prestigious to contracts wasn't an easy one, and it inevitably led to some issues. One of them is that some charms and stickers actually had to be cut since there wasn't enough space for them. 4 charms and 9 stickers, the majority from Prestige 3, are now unobtainable. However, if you got them from before, you still keep them. This is different from previous times when things got removed, since I think this is the only time that you actually get to keep things in your inventory. Taking a look at the stickers, the Prestige 0, 1, and 2 stickers are gone. They were just the old logo from Prestiges back from 2019. I think it makes sense that these are gone. The rest of the stickers removed were from Prestige 3. 6 out of the 8 Prestige 3 stickers were removed, including GG, Alien, Groovy, Bodpod, Fungus, and Melt, leaving just Chili and Scribble. As for charms, 4 Prestige 4 charms were made unavailable as well. These were the Deck of Cards, the King card, the Ace card, and the Great Popsicle. I really wonder what the idea was behind removing these specifically. I haven't heard anyone else talk about this, and I haven't heard any word from the devs, so I have no idea if these are coming back or not. Something I mentioned before was that this update isn't completely polished at release, which is completely understandable. One of the issues I noticed was that the new weapons, which are the Tomahawk and Tack Shovel, aren't available in randomizer. Don't ask how I know this, as it definitely wasn't me being cheap and trying to use them without leveling up. Another thing is, the first 2 contracts, being Dropbear and Overshoot, actually have the wrong image. In the Overshoot contract, you unlock the Ultra Slayer and the DSR, while in the Dropbear contract, you unlock the outfit and the weapons pictured in the Overshoot contract. Once again, this is understandable. The next one isn't really an Easter egg or anything, but it's just something weird I noticed. Basically, the progression update is actually sort of a return to form, back to 2019 bad business. Let me explain. First, in 2019, weapons were unlocked much more often. Previously, weapons were unlocked every 3 levels instead of 5. Second, in 2019, weapon skins were unlocked through leveling up. The Tateyama contract adding weapon skins is just returning to how it used to be 5 years ago. Although the system is completely different, so it's an unfair comparison. I'm not at all trying to say that 2019 bad business was better than this system, because it really wasn't. Another weird parallel to old bad business was that we actually already got the progression revamp all the way back in early 2020. Taking a look at the 2020 roadmap, early in the year, we received the first progression revamp, which had weapon skin challenges, as well as all the Prestige 0, 1, and 2 cosmetics that are currently being used for contracts. And finally, this may or may not be the most useless piece of information, but soon after the update came out, I added onto my custom app containing the locations of all the menus to get to the new one. So here it is. Yeah, there really isn't much else to say. Alright, so to finish things off, I may as well showcase the infinite money glitch. I'm not even joking. While in early testing for the update, there are many glitches, which is completely natural, but one of them actually caused me to gain 200 credits every time I clicked on the Tateyama contract, which I found to be quite funny. This was only in a test build though, so although it worked, it thankfully never made it to the actual game. One more thing before I finish off the video. I don't even know what this is or what the context is, but Bunny wanted me to include this in the video for some reason. Alright, so as this video is coming to a close, I feel that it's necessary to address the status of this channel. I'll try not to make this too long. Basically, I don't have the best track record for maintaining consistent uploads. I haven't made any actual bad business videos in nearly 2 years. Over a month ago now, I announced my return, along with plans to attempt daily or at least regular uploads, but it's taken me a month to release my first video. So, what happens? Unlike previous times, I've actually been very hard at work on this channel. After releasing my Who Am I video, I immediately got to work on the next video, but I had to scrap it for various reasons. I then decided to start work on the video I had planned after that, which was a video comparing the AK and the XK. Work on this video began right away, and it's actually still ongoing. The video turned into an absolutely massive project. The script is currently over 11,000 words and will likely be over an hour and a half long upon completion. For the video, I measured the recoil of every assault rifle, deconstructed the entire attachment system, and mathematically found the lowest recoil setups in the game. Basically, the video was just way too big, and its scale, combined with many other problems I have with getting things out on time, has led to the unexpected silence since then. I've also been fairly busy at some points. Despite this, I think this is where things start to turn around. I'm now planning on splitting the video up into different parts, so I should be able to get it out sometime relatively soon. And before then, I actually have other smaller videos planned too. While daily uploads is something I never should have said, I think that soon I can start with somewhat regular videos. As for live streams, I still want to do them, but just maybe not that often. I also don't think Bad Business is particularly a good game to stream on, since there really aren't that many people out there that watch them. But we'll see for this as well. But yeah, I'm not gone, I'm still here, and I'm still planning on being here for a while. Also, something else to mention is that after the Who Am I video, I actually got accepted as a featured content creator for Bad Business, even though I hadn't made any actual videos yet. I really want to thank everyone who helped me on the way, including Wild Aces, Zemp, Huz, Dual Darko, as well as Ethan for having faith that I actually will make videos this time. It's also cliche, but thank you guys so much for everything as well. What this now means is I'll get early access to more updates in the future, although I'm not sure how many update videos I'll make. But that's about it. I'm cringing while writing this because it's so cliche, but seriously, thank you guys so much. It's been a wild 4 years, and you guys have stuck with me through all of it, now including a 40-minute long late update video. Hopefully, I will see you all soon though. Thank you all so much for watching. Bye.